Are you looking for a book that scares you one minute, grosses you out the next, and even tugs on the heartstrings occasionally? Do you want something you can dip in and out of as and when you please? Or do you just want a really great starting point for your Stephen King journey? Well, my friends, this is the one for you. Here's 19 reasons to read Night Shift. Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm Dave Musson, at Dave Musson on Instagram, and I'm back here to continue my role as your tour guide through the works of Stephen King. And in this video, we're taking our first stop in his short stories collection as we go into 1978's Night Shift. Now, because this one is a collection, I'm going to vary things up slightly on the video. I'm going to give you 9 reasons to read the book as a whole, and then the other 10 reasons are actually just going to be me counting down my top 10 stories in this collection. Sound good? Well, that's what we're doing. You don't have a choice, so deal with it. So let's get started. Don't forget to let me know your top 10 Night Shift stories in the comments. And of course, as always, some spoilers ahead. So this collection actually came about as a bit of a stopgap. King had finished with The Shining, but had only just got started on The Stand, which at that point was his biggest novel to date, and his publishers were a bit nervous about... For fuck's sake! Floyd! Floyd! Sorry about that, stupid dickhead. This collection actually came about as a bit of a stopgap. So King was done with The Shining, but only just started work on The Stand, and his publishers were a bit nervous about leaving it too long between books. So they suggested a collection of short stories, and Night Shift was born. So in Night Shift there are 20 stories, 16 of which have been previously published across a range of years. The oldest being 1968's Strawberry Spring, right up to 1977 for The Man Who Loved Flowers. The other 4 stories, The Last Rung on the Ladder, The Woman in the Room, Quitters Inc. and Jerusalem's Lot, were written brand new especially for this collection. Bringing it back to my favourite thing, a band analogy. If Rage were King's first demo, then Night Shift is like a collection of all his early EPs bundled into one easy to find thing. So this was the first book for which King wrote a foreword, and when you start it like this, let's talk, you and I. Let's talk about fear. Yep, I'm hooked. It also featured an introduction by fellow author John D MacDonald, who at the time was at the top of the bestseller list with King. And he had some pretty nice things to say about our favourite author. Stephen King is a far, far better writer at 30 than I was at 30. Or 40. Thanks, John. Interestingly, there were some stories long listed for this collection that didn't make it, but ultimately did appear in either Skeleton Crew or Nightmares and Dreamscapes. Namely, It Grows on You, Survivor Type, The Wedding Gig, and The Man Who Would Not Shake Hands. Suffer the Little Children, also in Nightmares and Dreamscapes, was actually King's preferred choice to be in Night Shift, but his editor decided to go for Grey Matter instead. For what it's worth, I prefer Suffer the Little Children, so pretty pleased that it did eventually see the light of day. Now I'm very conscious that I've got to reason 7 and haven't dropped any swears yet, but don't worry, that is all about to change. Night Shift has spawned a fuck ton of film adaptations. There have been 5 feature films, 500 if you count all of the Children of the Corn sequels, and 4 TV series adaptations. And that's before we even start talking about the abomination that is Lawnmower Man. Something that was so hideous, Stephen King went to court to have his name removed from the credits. So all of these adaptations helped birth the Dollar Baby scheme, which is where King gives aspiring filmmakers the right to adapt one of his short stories for $1. And it's very much to get their career moving. It's not necessarily for things that are publicly shown. Quite a few filmmakers have taken advantage of the Dollar Babies, most notably Frank Darabont, who of course made Shawshank, The Green Mile and The Mist. And to date there have been 10 Dollar Babies and counting. So these stories had nearly all been published previously, and they'd nearly all been published in magazines, mostly men's magazines, which is where King cut his teeth writing. And you can really tell that from these stories. They're lean, mean, and quite often smutty. Right, My next 10 reasons double up as my top 10 countdown of my favourite stories in Night Shift. So, buckle up. Battleground, where an assassin kills a toy maker and then is sent a load of toys from that toy maker who try and kill him. Sounds fucking ridiculous, but it is an absolute hoot. And it resulted in the only episode of the terrible mid-noughties TV series Nightmares and Dreamscapes that's actually worth watching. Sometimes they come back, hits really hard when it comes to number of scares versus page count, and it just gets under your skin. Oh, and not only that, it features a classic King trope, greasers as bad guys. Quitters Inc. is fantastic, a really twisted, perverted way of helping you give up smoking, where if you fuck up, your family suffer. And it also made for a great part of the movie Cat's Eye. The Man Who Loved Flowers is a real stinger. It lulls you into this beautifully written story before whacking you around the face with its sucker punch ending. Now, on rereading it, there's lots of signs as to where the ending is going to go, but it still comes as a bit of a surprise. One for the Road, I already mentioned in the Salem's Lot video. It's kind of a sequel to Salem's Lot, where we learn that the town and its vampires are still out there, including little girls who just want a bedtime kiss. The Ledge is an absolute fucking riot. So we've got this mafia boss who discovers that his wife is fucking her tennis instructor, so he grabs the tennis instructor, sends him out on a ledge and says, right, you've got to walk a lap at the top of this hotel on this ledge, and if you survive, then I'll let you live. It's just bonkers. It's really tense, makes you cringe the whole time, and you will never look at pigeons in the same way again. The Boogeyman is probably the nastiest of the nasty ones here. Now, I'm not going to spoil the ending, but I will just say it is excellent. Eye Am the Doorway, really creepy and really great. Oh, and it's the reason for that famous picture of the hand with all the eyes in it. Aliens, eh? Creepy little fuckers. So The Woman in the Room is the first of a couple of stories in this collection that underline, even at this stage in his career, that King was so much more than just a horror guy. So this story is about a man who is faced with the prospect of having to euthanize his terminally ill mother. And when you're faced with that kind of situation, the horror is all too real. You don't need monsters. Finally, my favourite, The Last Rung on the Ladder. This is the second non-horror story here, and it's an absolute gem. A tale of the brother-sister dynamic that is steeped in grief and regret. And it also takes place in Hemmingford Home, which is a location we meet again in The Stand and 1922. There you go, 19 reasons to read Night Shift. I really hope you enjoyed jumping into the world of King's short stories. It's a great place to be. Let me know what you think in the comments. As always, come and say hi on Instagram, and don't forget to check out my band, Chapter 19. Our song Stephen, about Stephen King, has been playing in the background throughout this video, and there's a link to the full thing below. Thanks as always for watching, and come back next time when we make our stand.